Hey, hello, Visions, and welcome to our next session of the 2025 Virtual Curriculum Fair. I am here joined with Nick Martin from Open Up, presenting on one of our ELA core options for our homeschool families. Nick, I'm going to let you go ahead and just take the floor.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm coming to you from Sacramento, if you don't recognize the Tower Bridge in my background. So excited to be meeting with local folks. I'm from Open Up Resources. We're a nationwide publisher. We've been working with a lot of your families this past school year to provide materials for a couple of our programs. Today, I'm going to talk about EL Education, our K-8 language arts program. And so let's dive right in. We've got about 30 minutes 30 minutes for a presentation. And then if there are any questions at the end, I'll stick around to answer any of those. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So EL education, in my opinion, is a fantastic curriculum for many reasons, one of which is that it is totally student-centered. And by being a student-centered curriculum, that means there's a lot of different elements and access points to ensure that all students can work through the content, and there is lots of support for you all as their teachers to help guide them through the curriculum. And the curriculum is great also because it's really kind of an interdisciplinary approach. In other words, while your students are learning valuable reading and writing skills, they're doing so by also exploring science and social studies content. Um, and they're also learning how to use those skills in a real world context. And part of that is due to the publisher, in this case, EL Education, and their belief in what student achievement should look like. And so for us, student achievement is more than just mastery of the skills. We read and we write for a purpose in the real world, and we want to ensure that our kids can take those skills and, like I mentioned, apply them to the real world. And part of that is producing high quality work, but also building character and understanding that their knowledge and skills can be used to better the world around them, not just to assist them later in life and in their career, but understand how those skills can help improve their community and others around them. So we've got these three dimensions of student achievement that the curriculum is designed to address. And so the center of the curriculum are books, lots and lots of books. And the way that we make sure that those books um, allow them to learn those skills and the understanding of how to apply what they've learned is what we call the read, think, talk, and write cycle. So studies have shown that when we teach reading in isolation, and then we tell our kids, all right, close your book, it's time for writing, that their writing isn't that great. In other words, if we connect the reading and the writing with giving kids the time to think about their ideas and talk about their ideas, the quality of their writing skyrockets. And so when we've got these worthy texts, these really great trade books, and we give our students the ability to connect with their reading to what they're writing, their achievement goes up. And so those worthy texts that we like to call them also provide what we've dubbed mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. So those trade books, acting as kind of mirrors, are going to help students build self-esteem and pride in their community or their personal identity, because a lot of these books are going to be written by or have characters who are from a variety of different backgrounds and cultures and localities. And kids will often see themselves in these books, which is a really powerful element in their learning. On the flip side, they may see characters and locations and read books written by authors that they don't have anything in common with. These books are going to give them a window to the outside world and help them reduce bias and foster empathy for these diverse populations. It's really just an opportunity to learn about others. Now, since we've got this extended view of what achievement means and being able to apply one's skills to the world around them, these books also offer opportunities to be what we call sliding glass doors. And so they're going to take this knowledge and be able to identify systems of injustice and understand the role of activism in social change and really understand how these mirrors and windows can help them become literate citizens who want to help change the world. And so the worthy texts are abundant. There are a ton that are used in the curriculum and really center as kind of the expert in the room. Everything is done within the context of the books themselves. And so how that looks is as follows. So we have a full K-8 curriculum, and K2, 3, 5, and 6, 8 have slightly different approaches. Oops. All of that knowledge building that I was referencing and all of that work that's done with those trade books, those worthy texts, are done in what we call module lessons. That's where all of the reading and writing instruction is really going to take place. Now, in K2, we have an additional resource called Skills Block. And Skills Block is a program that's designed to supplement those module lessons to help build your students' foundational reading skills. And so the Skills Block is going to have these really great teacher resources for you to guide your students through what we've dubbed differentiated learning. So you're going to have the ability to really hone in on your students' individual skills and have both teacher resources and decodables that are designed to help address issues like phonics and phonemic awareness and morphology, all these terms that we use to help build better readers. Now, Skills Block is going to look a little bit different across different classrooms. So with you all working individually with your students, your Skills Block instruction is really going to be focused on building those individual skills. There's also opportunities to do some word work and to do some writing practice, but all designed with that differentiated approach to really, again, hone in on the needs of your individual students. Skills Block also uses kind of a cycle approach. So every week there will be a mini assessment designed to assess where your students are, what you need to do to get them to the next level or what's next in that next cycle. And everything that you'll have in hand is going to help you do that whole process. And so the books that students are reading during Skills Block are going to be decodables that align with those cycles. And it's a really user-friendly approach to building foundational skills. I want to get back, let's shift gears and we'll get back to the modules. I was talking to Kaylee and the other folks from Visions, and we're really excited that you have access to Skills Block, and I just couldn't wait to tell you about it. So sorry, we're shifting gears back to the modules and talk about the knowledge building element of the curriculum. So here's how the curriculum is laid out from K-8. There's going to be 4 modules every year, and each module is going to consist of 3 separate units. Another element that's fantastic about this curriculum is that the authors use what's called a backwards planning model. And so what they did is they actually started with Unit 3. Unit 3 is where students are going to wrap things up, and they're going to have a really cool summative assessment that's going to put everything together. So the author said, all right, we know where we want students to be. Now let's backwards plan to ensure that everything we provide our teachers is going to get those kids to where they need to be. And so unit 1 is going to be all about building background knowledge. So kids are going to be using those worthy texts to start learning about the larger themes and topics, and really start to build their understanding of those themes and topics. In unit 2, now that they've got that background knowledge, they're going to do an even deeper dive and start to do a little bit more research. And then in unit 3, like I mentioned, they're going to put it all together, do some extended writing, and create what we call performance tasks. So there are lots of assessments built into this curriculum that are really going to give you a good sense of how your students are progressing. But then at the end, there's a really meaningful opportunity to put their learning together. It's not just a one-day kind of test. It's a multiple-day project that kids in any setting are going to be really proud of and really engaged in. And it's going to provide a really genuine assessment opportunity for your kids and for yourselves. So that 3-unit cycle is going to happen 4 times a year with 12 units in every school year. So for you all in your teacher-facing materials, you're going to have every day a lesson plan that's really broken down, kind of like how it is on my screen here. So you'll have your daily agenda, and every day is going to be broken down into these 3 kind of separate periods, if you will. So there's always going to be some sort of opening activity. That opening activity might be at the very beginning, a time for you to introduce that new topic or those new themes. In this example, this opening is going to be about revisiting what you've done up until that point. And then after an opening, there's always going to be a work time. And the work time is always going to have some sort of reading component and some sort of writing component. And then finally, there's going to be a closing. And the closing is really important because this is going to help your students kind of start putting things together. It's going to help you as a teacher to really set expectations for the next day or the next unit, and just provides a really meaningful time to help make sense of it all. In addition to the agenda, there's going to be daily learning targets, and you'll see that the learning targets are written from the perspective of a student. So the idea is at the end of every lesson, students can answer this or say this statement with confidence. In this case, they can discuss the partner or the process of pollination, and they can write about that process of pollination. You'll also have suggestions for ongoing assessment. So kind of formative assessments to see kind of where your students are. Maybe are there things that you might want to go back and revisit? Or are they maybe excelling and you can kind of speed things up a little bit? Those assessments are going to be provided for you. And then we have anchor charts and protocols that are going to help guide students through the lessons and make things just a little bit more organized for you all, but also predictable. That's something that I really appreciate about the curriculum. I'm a former teacher, by the way, and I really appreciate how every day has this predictable structure. The protocols are kind of routines that, again, help things be more predictable. And in the end, just make them a little bit more simple for you all as teachers. And yeah, assist your students in knowing what's going to happen the next day. What happens every day when we do language arts together. One thing I do want to mention before I jump into talking a little bit about assessments is really more about work time. So I mentioned that work time is going to include both reading and writing. And so everything that's done and taught and practiced within the curriculum is all done related to that worthy text that I referenced in the opening. So at no point when you use this curriculum is there going to be like, okay, close your book. Now we're going to practice this particular skill. Or now we're going to do just this particular writing activity. Everything is going to be related back to that book. So you can see in this example, students are going to be reading and or in this case absorbing some text from this book, Seed to Plant, and then they're going to be using that through that read, think, talk, write cycle to write about it. But it's all done within the context of that book, and it's all done in thinking, in this case, about the book from seed to plant. Nothing happens in kind of isolation or for no reason whatsoever. It always has meaning and context. So I've talked a little bit about that ongoing assessment that you'll have access to every single day. There also are some more formal assessments that are designed to check for understanding and again, just get a sense of where your students are headed and, are there things that maybe you'll want to go back to and revisit just to help build their understanding as they're moving through, a unit or a module. So you'll have uh, on-demand assessments available to you. So like basically in the teacher guides, there will be assessment suggestions and all the resources you need to give your students those assessments. And then at the end of a unit, there's going to be, again, something that's a little bit more formal. It's going to be on demand, so it's going to be really in the same context that all the learning is done in. So you're not going to have like, end of unit assessment that is multiple choice. It's going to be, hey, we've been working on this type of writing for the last couple of units. So we're going to assess how well you do in that kind of writing. Again, always coming back to that worthy text and always having a reason behind it. And then at the very end of every module is our culminating performance task. And an example of a performance task that I love to share is one that's in fifth grade. And so in one of the modules in fifth grade, you start to talk about and read about what are human rights and what does that look like and feel like. And so the text that guides that module is a wonderful book called Esperanza Rising. It's the story of a girl and her family who are migrant farm workers here in California in the 1940s. And you use that book as your guide through this larger discussion about human rights. And then the culminating performance task, your students write a monologue or can even perform a monologue as Esperanza or as a character from the book, explaining how their life and the troubles that they face and the hardships that they've overcome relate to this idea of human rights and what does it mean to violate human rights? What does it mean to respect them? Um, that assessment is more than just what did you learn, but how can you take what you learn and apply it to something larger than yourself, larger than our classroom. So here's just a graphic kind of showing those assessments and where they pop up in any given module. As I've mentioned, the formats are going to mirror what you're doing in your daily lessons. So they're not going to be a multiple choice or a here's a writing prompt, just write. It's really going to look and mirror what you're doing in those daily lessons. In grades 3 through 5, there are going to be mid-unit assessments. So there are going to be a few more that do pop up. And this is also going to mirror, I know it says assessment 3-5. A more accurate would be just assessment for 3 through 8. 8th grade is also, or 6 through 8 is also going to include this assessment map, if you will. Okay, so here's what we offer for you all to purchase and use with your students. So we have teacher guides. One thing that, or one, I don't want to say criticism, but feedback that we've received is that there's a lot of stuff in the teacher guides. Um, as I mentioned, as a former teacher, I think we have erred on the side of giving you everything you'd need as opposed to not giving you enough. So I would highly recommend if you do choose this curriculum and you get your teacher guides, really get to know it. Really read, a module from beginning to end and point out, oh, here are the call outs that are going to help me as a teacher, or here's a routine that I'm going to set in place with my student. And, EL has given me all the suggestions on how to do it, and then some. So there is a lot, but again, it's designed with the goal of giving you everything you might need. So in addition to those teacher guides are also going to be student workbooks, and the workbooks are where your students would be recording their ideas, responses to reading, everything that's happening kind of in those daily lessons would be recorded in the student workbooks. And you can, see in that graphic below, they are designed by module. So you would get 4 separate teacher guides and your student would get 4 separate student workbooks. There's also going to be what we call a curriculum companion. That's going to give you just a really good kind of overview of the curriculum in general and your grade level in particular. But everything you would need on a day-to-day would be in that teacher guide. And then we mentioned in the opening all about skills block. So the skills block materials are going to include another teacher guide, again, designed to help guide you through skills block on a daily basis, through those learning cycles. And everything you need is going to be in there. And by everything, I mean maybe more than you'll need. But again, we want to err on the side of caution. And then finally, the decodables that go along with the skills block materials. You could see a little graphic up there, that open book, that's an example of our decodables. And everything, including those decodables and our teacher guides and workbooks, everything is high quality, but low price and affordable. And the decodables in particular are really They're high quality, and as opposed to maybe other publishers, they're not just photocopied and stapled. They really look and feel like, excuse me, a published book. And I know, speaking as a parent with little ones, I have a kindergartner who's learning to read. Um, I know that when he's holding a book like this, it feels a lot more meaningful than just, kind of photocopied thing. So we're really excited that you all will have access to these this year, and give you really everything you need to assist your kids with ELA. So it's not just about those really great themes and high level topics like human rights and those sliding glass doors that are going to help them take their knowledge and be better people. It also includes really the foundational stuff that you would need, in particular in K through 2, to make sure that they are able to make sense of those themes and topics, um, and close out, that three ring definition of achievement. All right, I know that that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. We are about at 10:30. So as I mentioned, I'd love to stick around and answer any questions you have, either if you wanted to come off mute or put them in the chat. Either way works for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick, for this presentation. And families, Open Up is an option as an ELA core for us. And then Open Up Resources Math is also available as a math course. So you can join us for another presentation with Nick tomorrow at, let me make sure I get our time right, 10 a.m. So we are available to answer questions about math then, but for right now, we'll focus on ELA. I am going to stop our recording so that we can go ahead and start that Q&A.